Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, let's cut straight to the chase here. There is something being obscured in the media right now that we need to get 100% crystal clear on. We were right. Those of us economic leftists who said that putting the neoliberals back in charge would be wildly inadequate for the moment and result in paving the way back to Trump or worse, we were totally 100% correct. Those of us who said, even if all you care about is winning, Democrats, getting behind Joe Biden, a man who has been wrong on nearly every substantive issue of his lifetime as a member of the Senate, would be a disastrous mistake. Yeah, he eked out a nail-biting victory over Donald Trump, a man who had just spent months making it abundantly clear just how wildly irresponsible, dangerous, and dishonest he really was. But now Democrats, having followed the Biden neoliberal DC establishment playbook to a T, are poised for historic and preventable losses. This is not because Biden went too far left or did too much, or as Paul Bagala suggested, because Democrats have bad followers. It's because neoliberalism is a hollow, rotten shell that has been rejected repeatedly by voters, but like a zombie continues to rise from the dead and ruin every institution of note in this country. I need you and everyone else to understand that whatever excuses the media and Democratic elites want to make, the failures we are living through right now are the direct result of the pathologies and failures of neoliberalism. The news item in particular that led me to feel the need to make this clear is this one. Tiger Beat on the Potomac, also known as Politico, is tracking how some of Biden's most reliable media boosters have turned on him. And you'll never guess what many of our brilliant minds in legacy media have identified as the cause of Biden's problems. It's the left. Leftists in general, and Bernie in particular, are ruining what would have otherwise been a glorious neoliberal era of milk and honey. Tom Friedman says that Biden can right the ship by running alongside Liz Cheney in 2024. Chris Matthews returned from exile to send out this oddly spaced old man tweet. I want hardball fans to know how I appreciate your faith in me. 2022 could be a great time to show what we've learned. I tried to warn we were headed too far left. No word on whether he still fears being rounded up and executed in Central Park for his capitalist beliefs. Chris, blink twice if you're okay. But taking the cake for bad analysis was this New York Times' own David Brooks, who tweeted, "Today is the day for Biden to begin revamping his presidency in a more centrist direction. There is no path forward for a leftish agenda." A leftish agenda. What in God's name are you talking about? The only left-ish things that Biden actually did, those were all at the beginning of his administration, back when he passed a relief bill with direct checks and signed a few moderately beneficial executive orders to do things like lift wages of federal government employees, re-enter the Paris Climate Accords, and make things here in the U.S. And back when Biden was doing those left-ish things, he had an approval rating of 55% versus the 40% that he has now on a good day. He went from positive net 12 to being underwater by almost exactly the same amount. Seems to me there's no viable political path forward for a centrist or corporatist agenda. The idea that there's no way Biden could accomplish a leftish agenda is similarly ridiculous. Biden could sign an executive order today canceling debt. He could expand Medicare. He could legalize weed tomorrow if he wanted to. He could also actually put some muscle behind one of the myriad of leftish economic agenda items with massive popular support and shame folks into either voting yes or justifying to the American people their corrupt no votes. So I don't want to hear it with your preposterous version of events. You all got the guy that you wanted. You got the meaningless theatrical displays instead of governing you wanted, and he has executed on the strategy that you wanted. He promised you that nothing will fundamentally change, and guess what? He's fully delivered. While we're at it, let's dispel some rumors about Bernie's influence on Build Back Better, because that is a key talking point among the Biden went too far left crowd. The problem for Biden right now isn't that he did too much, it's that he failed to deliver on really much of anything. And that failure is a direct result of Joe Biden's strategy. Bernie didn't want to waste months of time trying to get a few Republicans on board with a corporate infrastructure package that was a wish list for Wall Street. That strategy killed momentum and killed the little bit of leverage you had with the corporatists in Cinema Mansion and the others who like to hide behind them. What's more, the original $6 trillion Build Back Better bill was nowhere close to the Green New Deal and Medicare for All that Bernie did campaign on. It was a massive compromise to start with, so it wasn't Bernie's bill, but it was the opposite, and it was the opposite of Bernie's strategy. But in fairness, the provisions in it could fairly be called a leftist agenda. And guess what? Polling shows that every one of the elements of that compromised leftist agenda are, in fact, wildly popular. They're roughly a gajillion times more popular than Biden, Kamala, and the failing Dems. Elder care, hearing coverage, clean energy jobs, universal pre-K, paid leave, all have a significant margin of net support. And even after all this time, corporate fear-mongering and Democratic bungling, Build Back Better overall still garners majority support from the American public. But leftish is not leftist. And Build Back Better was also undercut by another key neoliberal failing: their obsession with making every single thing they propose so damn complicated that no one can even understand who benefits and why. They couldn't just send a child tax credit to everyone. No, it's got to have an income cutoff, and it's got to have a phase out. They couldn't just have actual universal pre-K. They have to propose a block grant with only a short-term and woefully inadequate funding mechanism and no way to ensure consistent quality. This has made the agenda so muddled and confusing that there is no mass public pressure on Manchin or Sinema or anyone else to actually get it done. And that is a big reason that Build Back Better ultimately failed. It's also a big reason why the child tax credit just expired with barely a whimper. So for those of you keeping score at home, you got a president who has hobbled his own agenda by obsessing over rules and norms, who further destroyed his agenda by chasing that longtime DC fetish of elite bipartisanship, a president who has thoroughly rejected the left ideal of universality in favor of the neoliberal obsession with markets and means testing, who has only made the barest nods to the labor struggles that are unfolding across the country, taking no positive actions to actually strengthen their hand or to shame the greedy plutocrats who are involved. In other words, this administration is a pure distillation of late-stage neoliberalism. Exactly what all of you legacy media pundits who are hand-wringing now said that you wanted. Breathe it in. Let it flow over you. Pump it through your veins. How does it feel? How's it working out for you in terms of voters having any interest in handing you power again? How's it going for you all, assuming you actually have a sincere desire to not let Trump return to the White House? What do the mounting tolls of inequality and deaths of despair mean for preserving America as an entity that we can even pretend is a democracy? We tried to warn you. You own this disaster. Your ideology is bankrupt, and yet you steadfastly bar the gates, blocking any new direction which might be good and might be hopeful. And what is most pathetic here is that in answer to all of these failures, you got nothing to say except vomit up the same analysis that has been failing us for 40 years. Biden-Cheney 2024, you should only get behind that idea if you're ready for Don Jr. 2028. This has been driving me nuts. This administration is exactly... Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.